Hey y'all, it's your girl Cecilia, back at it again with another video. So today I am going to be doing my November wrap-up. So I didn't do an October wrap-up because I read like 2 books in October and I didn't feel the need to do a wrap-up for that, but I read a total of 9 books. 9 books in November. I'm currently filming this on the 29th, and I doubt that I'm going to finish either of my other books by the end of this month, so I figured might as well film my wrap up a little early and then get it up to you guys tomorrow. I made coffee, and I made like the perfect cup. And yes, I'm drinking coffee at 2 p.m. because I'm that bitch. So my reading month this month was pretty good. I didn't rate anything lower than a 3-star, and I gave a lot of 5 stars. I have 3 3-stars, 1 4-star, and 5 5-stars, which I think is pretty great. I read a lot of trash this month, not gonna lie, but I loved it. So we're just gonna steadily go on with this. First book I read was Attack on Titan Volume 2. I gave this one 3 stars. I thought it was okay. I started watching the anime first. I got about more than halfway through the first season and I was not liking it at all. I thought it was really slow paced and everything like that. The manga's better, but it's not the greatest, so I kind of decided just to DNF this DNF the manga series, but I'm not gonna watch the anime series, so I guess just Attack on Titan's not for me. Alright, I finished 3 books in one day, so this is gonna be a little bit repetitive all at once, but I listened to Cinder by Marissa Meyer. I gave this 5 stars. I loved this book, and I wasn't expecting to love it. I was expecting to maybe get it 3 stars, but I was so wrong. So this book, there's a girl named Cinder, and she is basically part cyborg, and one day the prince comes to her like mechanic shop because she is a mechanic. Basically he hires Cinder to fix his android, and after that just all these different things starts to happen. There is like, it's really interesting. It is a sci-fi retelling of Cinderella, which I personally love retellings. They gotta be done well though, or they gotta be, I feel like they gotta have some resemblance to the fairy tale, but I still want them, I like dark retellings because fluffy retellings are not my favorite, and this is more definitely on the darker side. There is not a happy ending. I'm not gonna spoil it, but there's not a happy ending. I love not having happy endings. So I also fell in love with Prince Kai. I also really love Cinder, and just the relationship and like their little banter, and I just really enjoyed this book, and I'm excited to continue on with the rest of the series. I read was Saga Volume 4 by Brian K. Vaughan. What did I give this? I gave this graphic novel 4 stars. I really enjoyed the Saga franchise, but it's hard for me to pick them up because who texting me? It's like hard to pick them up because they are so expensive, and the libraries in my area don't carry Saga because of its graphic content basically. So only time I really read Saga is when I go to Barnes & Noble and I'll sit there for 2 hours, or I'll sit there for some time and like read the graphic novel because I'm trash. It's basically, I like to say it's kind of, I want to say it's kind of like a space opera in graphic novel form, which I don't know if that's like the technical like real term you should call it, but I really love this graphic novel series and I'm excited to continue on with Volume 5. The next book I read was actually a novella online, and it's The Queen's Army by Marissa Meyer. This is the novella. I don't know if it's the novella that's supposed to go between Cinder and Scarlet, but that's how I read it as. I started reading a little bit of Scarlet, or listening to a little bit of Scarlet, but I kind of didn't want to read the audiobook, so I'm going to eventually pick it up on physical book. But I recommend reading that novella. It's only 23 pages. Marissa Meyer uploaded on Wattpad, so it is completely free. And I gave this novella 5 stars. I don't know what compelled me to love it so much, but I don't want to exactly spoil all of it because it's only 23 pages, but I'm just going to say it's basically backstory to one of the characters in Scarlet, and I thought it was amazing. I don't know, I've never been sucked in that much during a short amount of time. Like, I sat there and I couldn't, people kept texting me, and I was like, I'm not going to check my text because I'm so invested in this novella, and it was so good. I highly recommend it. Y'all are gonna judge me for the next few books I read, but I read The Selection by Kiera Cass. I get all my audiobooks off Libby from my library app. I had you listen to all my audiobooks at the moment, and all the ones I wanted were on hold. So I was just kind of going through the available ones, and I saw The Selection there, so I was like, oh, let's listen to it. I'm probably not gonna like it. I gave it 5 stars. Oh my god, I don't know what it was, but I just felt compelled, and I just fell deep in love with it. Basically, The Selection, it's kind of like The Bachelor, and there is a girl, her name America, which I think is kind of dumb, but like, kind of enter a lottery to kind of be a contestant, to be his future wife and be the future queen of the kingdom. And so she just kind of does it because she's kind of told by her family to do it, and she wins for her district, and she wasn't district, that this sounds like a lot like the Hunger Games. No, I'm kidding, but she like wins for her sector. And basically the rest of the book takes place kind of like in a bachelorette setting of like all these girls trying to win Prince Magnus's heart. And it was, again, trash, but I loved it. Ooh, I love Prince Magnus. I don't know why, but I did. I also loved America. People like used to tell me she's whiny, and I personally didn't think she's whiny. Maybe she gets whiny like in the rest of the books, but I didn't feel like so in this book, but I enjoyed it. This is just a fun little guilty pleasure read. I do recommend the audiobook. I did enjoy it, and it wasn't a long audiobook either, so yeah, I thought that there was a lot of like political intrigue and different stuff like that. You got hints and pieces of in between all like the, oh, I want Prince Magnus to like love me, and I kind of like that. I like having a little bit of like that darker stuff, but also mixed in with some fluff. So if you like just like fantasy or like just romance in general, I think this would be a good pick for you. Ooh, I actually have the physical book of something this time. So the next book I read was Pride by Evie Zaboy. I gave this book 3 stars. At first I rated it 4 stars, and then I kept thinking about it and I downgraded it to a 3-star. This book, there's a girl named Zuri, and she is from Brooklyn, and she has very prideful of where she comes from, who she is being Afro-Latina, and she like and prideful of like her family and of her sisters. And one day the Darcys basically moving across the street, and there's a lot of tension between them because they are super rich and the neighborhood is super not. This is a Pride and Prejudice retelling, and I did very much see that. I didn't read Pride and Prejudice before I read this, but I don't think you need to. I enjoyed this. Okay, I enjoyed this to an extent. I think that I enjoyed the ending. It was like, it wasn't a completely happy ending, but it was still semi-happy. There was one thing that bothered me the entire time, is that the entire time Zuri was such a huge hypocrite. She would go through the book and basically she would judge everybody based on what they look like, and based on like oh, you're rich, you must act like this. But then she would get upset at other people for judging her based on what she looks like. So I was like, girl, what? Which really bothered me. I hate when characters are like such hypocrites to the point, and then they like don't think that they're wrong in a way. And I'm like, she gets called out, but then she doesn't really change that much by the end of the book, which I'm fine if you like start off like that and then I see some progression, but I didn't get a lot of that, which is why I didn't rate it as high. And towards the middle, I got kind of bored. I did enjoy this, and so I do recommend if you do like this kind of stuff. But yeah, I enjoy. Next book I read was Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas, and I gave this one 5 stars. Again, I read a lot of fantasy trash this month. I don't know what was up with me. So this book, basically, there is Selena, I think it's Selena Sardothien, going with it. And basically she is a high-class assassin, but she was basically imprisoned for a year at these mines, and she is taken to, was kind of recruited to be the prince's like assassin, because there were these games, this competition to basically become like the king's assassin. And so she was entered in because she is like a world famous assassin. Everybody knows her name, but she goes under like her false name so people don't know who she is and like start to basically plot against her and stuff like that. And during her time there doing the competitions, she gets really close to Prince Dorian and really close to Chaol and close to the Princess Nehemia from a different country that is also there on diplomatic duties. And there is kind of like a mystery, kind of like a murder mystery happening in the middle of it, where some of the contestants are getting killed off in a very gruesome way, and nobody really knows who is doing it. I remember when I first started reading this book, I feel like I heard no explanations of what this book was about from anybody, so I tried to give a synopsis from my point of view of what I thought was feeling through it. I'll tell you, I remember at the beginning I wasn't very sure if I was gonna like it. The first chapter I was hella confused, and I kept reading on, and I started to like really love the characters. I love Celaena's just sarcasm and sassiness, which I just loved, and then her banter with all the other like people. I really liked Nehemia. I enjoyed her. I just really loved the characters. I also thought the plot was interesting. It wasn't like the most groundbreaking plot ever, but I thought it was just a good time, and I'm excited to pick up the next book in the series. The next book I read was a little disappointing, I'm not gonna lie. I read Down Among the Sticks and Bones by Seanan McGuire. I read Every Hearted Doorway in October, and I loved it. I gave it 5 stars, but I only gave this one 3 stars, and I'll tell you why. So this book basically follows Jack and Jill from the first book before, of course, while they're in their magical world. And I think the reason why I wasn't a huge fan of this one is because I felt like nothing happened. Like, I felt like reading it was kind of pointless. Like, I enjoyed myself, but I wanted more to happen. I felt like I didn't think that we needed more pages per se, because that's what I was talking to someone on Twitter, and they thought like, oh, maybe you just wanted to be longer. And it's not that. I just wanted more to happen. I just felt like it was 187 pages of filler, and I just wanted more of it, maybe less more on like the parents' backstory, because I feel like the first like 50 pages was just about the parents, and I literally did not care. But I still enjoyed it. I'm going to continue on with the next book in the series, and but yeah, I love the writing. The writing was good. I do like Jack and Jill. They weren't my favorite, but I still enjoyed it. But yeah, only 3 stars, but that's okay. And the last book I read was actually a manga. It was actually a manga, and it's Magi Volume 2 by Shinobu Otaka. Okay, so how I got into this kind of like world series is that I first watched on Netflix The Adventures of Sinbad, which is kind of a prequel to the entire thing, which apparently you're not supposed to watch first, but I think it was a good introduction. I feel like I learned a lot about the world and Sinbad, who was like my favorite. But then I watched a few episodes of the anime, put it down for some strange reason, but I'm going through the mangas right now. And this one I gave 5 stars. I really enjoyed it. Basically, the Magi series starts with, let me show you. There's this like little boy named Aladdin and Alibaba, of course, this guy on the cover. They basically find each other. Kind of finds out that Aladdin is a Magi, which kind of helped choose the king of or Magi's kind of helped choose the king. And they, at the beginning of of course the series, they go and they hunt down a dungeon, and it kind of spirals out and talks about different stuff after that. But this one is still takes place basically at the end of them capturing like the first dungeon, and I really enjoyed it. Funny, action-packed, all of those kinds of things. I enjoyed this one, and I'm excited to continue with the rest in this series. Alright, so that was my November wrap-up. I was going to do a December TBR, but I plan on taking place in 2 readathons. But yeah, that was my wrap-up, and if you enjoy this, please like, comment, and subscribe. Comment down below if you've read any of these books, if you either have a same opinion or different opinion, or if based on the books I read this month and liked, let me know about kind of recommendations. But that is all. I will see you guys in another video soon. Goodbye!